Early in the morning,
On your screen right now are two gentlemen. One goes by the name of Ashiri Smith, who's aged 19. The other one goes by the name of Thierry Robinson, who's aged 21. And as you can see, they are walking around HMP Fosse Way, which kind of looks like a hotel, but there's a reason for that because it's a Category C prison. Now, what you're watching and what you're witnessing is them two smiling, planning and plotting an attack on a fellow inmate. They walk up to this inmate's cell, it's unlocked, and after they leave, the inmate that was in that cell is dead, or at least dying on the floor as they walk out. Now guys, usually in normal circumstances, I'd be telling you this is a heinous crime, what's going on in these prisons? But you'll soon find out that the person they killed was a convicted sex offender and a known pedophile. So is it justice? Are they heroes or are they criminals? You lot are probably gonna know what side of the fence I'm gonna fall on. But what's going on, the people that miss your boy Cam Topical Juice, and we are back with another video for you today. And this one here is very, very interesting. Not because there's a loss of life, because I've actually covered one of these people before. As you can see on your screen right now, I did a video 1 year ago talking about a low IQ teen who was dancing around, waving a gun, waving a strap on camera. And I spoke about how much of an idiot you gotta be to be waving a gun on camera just to then get arrested by the feds. Now it turns out a year later, that very same teenager that I was mocking in that video has just gone and killed a pedophile in jail. So guys, I'd really appreciate my loyal subscribers, my loyal supporters to do what you always do. Smash that like button, it's free, it takes half a second. If you can watch the video all the way to the end, even if it's on 2x speed, I don't mind. It really helps with the algorithm. Press that subscribe button, I'm trying to hit 100k, press the bell to be notified. My Patreon link is in the description below. If you want to support me, support the channel, please head over, and I've got a lot of deep dive content on there that I can't really talk about on YouTube. As I said, two men have actually been caught and convicted of killing another man in jail. And as I also said, one of those teenagers was caught with a gun prior.
Come to the front door now! With nothing in your hand! Secure! Right, this way. Right, what's your name? Last anywhere. You step out of here. Appears to be a Walther self-loading pistol made in Germany. Appears to be a 9mm with a 19 round capacity.
Now before I read an article, I'm just going to give you an insight into the person they killed and what he was in jail for. I've got to shout out Ape Huncho for this one because I didn't actually find exactly what he was in jail for, but I watched Ape Huncho's video on this exact topic and he showed this on his screen. It says Mr. Mohammed had been jailed for an online conversation with a girl whom he thought was in her early teens. The quote-unquote girl was a decoy set up to snare pedos. The vigilante group behind the snare reported him to the police and he ended up being jailed at HMP Fosse Way. And as you can see on your screen right now, it says man found guilty of murder at HMP Fosse Way. A man has been sentenced after being found guilty of the murder of another man at HMP Fosse Way. Ashiri Smith, 19, was sentenced today at Leicester Crown Court after being found guilty yesterday of the murder of Mahir Abdul Rahman, who was also known as Mahir Mohammed, following trial. He was sentenced to life in prison to serve a minimum of 17.5 years. Thierry Robinson, 21, was found not guilty of murder but found guilty of manslaughter following the trial. He was sentenced to 11 years imprisonment. A third defendant, Sean Karim, 38, was found not guilty of either murder or manslaughter. The defendants and the victim were all inmates at the prison at the time of the incident, which happened on Tuesday the 20th of August 2024. Police had been called to HMP Fosse Way after Mahir Abdul Rahman was found unresponsive by a prison officer in his cell and in cardiac arrest at 7:45 a.m. The ambulance service had been called to the prison, but Mahir was pronounced deceased at the scene around an hour later. CCTV from the prison showed that Mahir Abdul Rahman's cell had been unlocked in the morning by a prison officer who had then continued on their rounds. Robinson and Smith then entered the cell before exiting it around 37 seconds later. Smith was then seen to re-enter the cell and exit again shortly after. A prison officer then entered the cell where she found Mahir. A post-mortem examination found that Mahir Abdul Rahman had suffered injuries including swelling to his right cheek and on his left cheek of his neck, a deep bruising to his brain and facial tissue. The cause of death was determined to be a something basal hemorrhage, basically bleed into the area of the brain. They probably stamped and kicked him out. Detective Inspector Mark Parrish from the East Midlands Special Operations said the injuries suffered by Mahir showed a serious sustained attack had taken place, which ultimately led to his death. Thanks to the hard work of the investigation team, Smith and Robinson have been convicted in court and will now face responsibility for their actions. Now, first things first, I don't think the investigation was really that difficult. The CCTV shows them enter the man's cell and leave, and he ends up dead. Flipping Stevie Wonder can see what happened, so don't pat yourselves on the back that much. It was clearly an easy case to solve, you feel me? Now guys, if you're new here and you've only subscribed recently, you may not know about my life and what I've experienced and things I've gone through. I'm not going to talk about it now. I've done a video on it January the 5th and I haven't spoken about it since. But you'll know that I have a deep disdain for nonces, a deep hatred for pedophiles, anyone who abuses children. I don't F with that. People know I expose these type of people. It's disgusting, it's foul, it's not on. You understand? So for me, I don't really sympathize with the victim. What can I say? Now, are there people that love the victim? Of course, he's got family. I'm sure he had friends. I'm sorry for your loss. But at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, this man knowingly went to speak and, well, he was going to meet an underage teen. Now, I have to be fair. Are there much worse pedos in this world than him? 100%. There are men who have actively ruined the lives of many young boys and young girls in this world. They've ruined them. And they get a year in jail, they get 3 years in jail, they get 5 years in jail, or they get no jail whatsoever. You go to jail for having weed on you longer than a nonce. Yeah, it's backwards. And the reason for that is because the people, the elites at the top of the food chain in government, in corporations, all these different industries, they are known nonces. A lot of them are demonic, a lot of them are Masonic, and a lot of them are nonces. So that's why nonces are able to leave the jail when overcrowding starts. Okay, so you're telling me the jail's overpopulated, so you're gonna send a sex criminal, a sex convict back on the streets to traumatize young boys and girls again? Are you insane? So I don't give a fuck about no nonce that gets battered in jail, to be honest. That being said, as I said, on a human level, is this right or wrong? We shouldn't really have autonomy over who lives and dies, but sometimes street justice prevails. Now, what they failed to mention in that article is that nonce was actually leaving. He was getting prepared to go back into the real world the next day. Shit, I think even that day, the day he died, I think he was going to be freed. The day before, because they'd have back and forths, the two convicted criminals and the nonce, they had been having a few back and forths in the build-up. And what the nonce did, the day before, the nonce actually threw hot water. Yeah, you know in jail they do that, you boil hot water and you throw it at people, yeah? Apparently, the nonce boiled hot water and threw hot water in the cell, and it hit both the criminals, both the convicted ones, right? And hit them both. So now they've escalated the violence. In their mind, they're not gonna let this nonce get away with trying to burn us. So they've got their get back, they got their lick back. You feel me? And that's what the article didn't say. I feel like the way the media portrays nonces, it's like we should be sympathizing with this guy. As I said, there are people out there who have traumatized young boys and girls much worse than this person has done. But how do we know that that person who died wasn't going to traumatize a whole bunch of other people? How do we know we don't know what he's already done. We don't know what type of women or girls he's spoken to and potentially traumatized. We don't know that. Guys, if you've ever been abused in any way, shape or form, you understand your life is never the same. The chemicals in your brain literally rewire. I suffer from complex PTSD from my childhood. I've been to rehab. I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict. My life will never be the same because of my childhood. Do you understand? People don't talk about that stuff. Okay, you might have a brick of cocaine, you go to jail, you might go to whatever, you might even stab someone, whatever. These are bad crimes. They destroy communities, they destroy people's lives. Why is it we can't give victims of abuse the same level of empathy? Your life is literally ruined. You're not defined by it, but you're fucked. Do you understand? So I don't have sympathy for the guy. As I said, there's worse nonces out there in terms of convicted nonces. But when you're actively talking to someone you knew was underage, an underage teenager, imagine given the chance, what he would have done if he had met that girl. He could have raped her. He could have touched her all over the place. He could have ruined that poor girl's life. For what? So the way I see it, man, is, I'm not going to call them heroes no more. Because, I'll be honest, if you go back to my old YouTube channel, I was a lot more hot-headed. I was a lot more passionate in my voice. I would have called them heroes. We should give them a parade. Them ones there. But I'm not necessarily going to call them heroes no more. But I don't think They're not villains. They might be stupid, waving guns in videos, but they're not villains as far as I'm concerned if they are targeting a nonce. But anyway, guys, I'm not God, so I don't get to decide who lives and dies. But anyway, man, just let me know your thoughts, man. What do you think? The guy was about to get released back. By the way, the guy was about to get released back into society. By the way, that was he was getting free that day. He was about to get released back into the world. Imagine if that was your daughter he was talking to, your son, whatever. But let me know your thoughts, man. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay vigilant. If you like the video, please like the video, and thank you for watching it all the way through. Peace.